When we last left Rob, the DIY theme guy, he was just beginning to handle his stones. That's right, and manipulating them into a satisfying state is a pretty good feeling. But my guess is some would like to know how it was done. Because this particular project was inside my living room where I'd be staring at the details every day, I decided to take a bit of extra effort and make them as perfect as possible. Using a sculpting tool like this helped to carve away the shapes and recesses that a stamping tool doesn't always accomplish. This old detailing paintbrush was one I previously used to spread a type of glue, so the bristles are now stuck together like a rubber tip. I used it to push in a fine seam between the stones in some areas. This average kitchen knife is a regular tool in my cement work. I use it to carve away edges, deeper cracks, or create entire shapes. Using the rounded end of the same paintbrush, I push in smaller divots, holes, and texture crevices. The end of a bigger paintbrush handle was used to do the same. A small whisk brush can be used to leave smaller pits and cover a greater area quickly. Different types of brushes can give various results. A piece of aluminum foil can give off a texture that is very similar to a stone look. Then you have rubber stamping tools that press in a distinct appearance. When using these, you want to rotate them to avoid a repeated pattern. A mist of mineral spirits on the stamp and/or the cement can assist in the process. The footage of carving deeper details went missing. So do what I already showed you, but add more patience. Now, if you're going to be doing a project anything like this, just keep in mind, once you put the wet cement mud on top of the project you're working on, let it set and cure for a little bit of time before you start trying to texture it. That could be anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes or more, depending on the mix ratio, the consistency, and the temperature where you're working. And if you don't want to use a small sculpting tool to get in there and carve out those little details like you saw me doing, basically if you don't want to be picky, you can use any number of things to put the texture in. You saw me using some aluminum foil and this homemade rubber stamp that I produced by putting a glob of hot glue on an actual rock. There's more to it than that. I'll have to show you some other time. You could also use any other number of things, such as a crumpled plastic bag, a crumpled piece of paper, a crumpled piece of packing foam, a crumpled piece of wax paper. Remember, if you use any of those items, be sure they're crumpled first, because when you're doing it, you don't want to look like you're too smooth. You could also use other items to texturize your rocks, such as a scouring pad, a piece of styrofoam melted with a heat gun, an oddly textured sponge, oh, sandpaper, 2 little balls, or this odd thing right here that I made out of a placemat, Gorilla Glue, some crumpled, broken styrofoam. Basically junk. You could also use loose particles of thick sand, heavy grains, or kitty litter, or stale Lucky Charms. Don't get those mixed up. Basically, whatever you use to texturize it, just keep in mind that the texture the item has that you're pressing into it is going to be the reverse texture in the wall. Because that's how stamps work. More or less, if you do this project, stamp it however you want. Texture it however you want. Be as picky as you want. It's your theme time. These are really stale. Or I got them mixed up. They're just stale. These are really stale.